this is how we interpret English poems first, because they are the same thing. I think from English to Chinese or from Chinese to English, they share, the two projects share the same rules and same, lots of same stuff there. So this is what I do at the same time. So I read the Chinese portion first. 欲接苑，欲接生白露，夜久请罗袜。却下水晶帘，玲珑望秋月。So in very simple English language, I think Ezra Pound did the great thing because he just translate the very literal meaning of it, word by word, use the same understatement. It's just a very little narrative of a story of what happened. There's no emotion, feelings, the subjectivities there at all. But you can imagine what is the significance there? Why something happened? Why step by step? There's episodes there, right? The scenes there. So the jewels there's grievance. Grievance is a word that is subjective. Something tell about what you feel there at that moment. But this is the only word you can see there. Other than that, no feeling at all. The jeweled steps are already quite white with dew. It is so late that the dew soaks my gauze stockings, and I let down the crystal curtain and watch the moon through the clear autumn. The first one is the jeweled steps. The poem does not talk about any person first. So the steps are quite white with dew. It means that it's a little bit late in the afternoon, maybe dusk time, right? It is so late that the dew sucks my gauze stockings. So if somebody wears gauze stockings, it must be a lady, not some other low-class woman. And also the first one mentioned the jeweled steps. It also means something very, like palace or very royal, maybe some very decorated place, very, very rich people. Or actually this is about the emperor's palace. So, but here, there is one pronoun here, my, and for the third line, there is I let down the crystal curtain. But actually, in the original Chinese version, there is no people at all. There's no pronoun, nothing there. It just said 却下水晶帘 means somebody let down the crystal curtain. But who did it? No word. No single reference there. So, and the last line, and watch the moon through the clear autumn. Imagine that some woman stay there outside for a long time, and then she go inside and then put down the curtain, but still look outside to see no one come to see her, but she has to watch the moon. Why she watch the moon? Because the moon, the image in China has a lot of significance there. It means actually the round moon means unification of two people, of a family. And also, if you look at the whole poem, you can see lots of images there. They are very cold, very bright, very wet, and also you can see the warmth there. Cold or warm, it's the colors, and the whole atmosphere is very lonely and very cold. So you can from those simple words, no person at all, but still there's strong feelings there. But Chinese poets just don't say anything about it. They just put it there and let the readers to realize, to see the significance there. So this is what Ezra Pound trying to. So he worry about the reader. The English reader cannot understand how this poem is praised as a very good one in Chinese history. So he put a note there. He said, jewels there is therefore a palace, grievance, therefore there is something to complain of, gold stockings, therefore a court lady, not a servant who complains, clear autumn, therefore she has no excuse on account of weather. Her lover didn't show up, but not because of weather, right? Because the autumn moon is so clear. No, it's not a rainy day, right? Also, she has come early, so the dew has not merely whitened the stairs, but has soaked her stockings. The poem is especially prized because she utters no direct reproach. That is what Ezra Pound observed, and he tried to share it with his readers at that time. So I think it is quite convincing there. But if you have a chance to look at another translation, you will see Ezra Pound just put a single pronoun there. That is nice. That is not so bad, right? But if you put a plural pronoun, that will spoil the whole thing, right? This is the third translation. This is from a Chinese kids textbook. And they will give the pinyin, right? Oh, and this is the one. But it seems quite simple, but still, there's so many ways to translate it into English. So this is a word-by-word translation here. So like, Kong is empty, mountain, shan. So I read it first in Chinese. 空山不见人，但闻人语响。返景入深林，复照青苔上。So this is so simple. Every Chinese kid can memorize it. And maybe in their first class, their teacher will ask them to memorize it. So no single complex Chinese character there. Kong means empty, and empty mountain not see people. Only hear people speak echo. Return gleam, enter deep grove. Again shine green moss on. But actually, this is the order of the Chinese characters. But in English, you have to manipulate it to readjust it a little bit. For this poem, so simple. How can you make it beautiful English poem at the same time. So I will give you, give you one by Wittevina. So another. Okay, this is the first one. Not so good, but still nice. Still nice. There seems to be no one on empty mountain, and yet I think I hear a voice. Where sunlight entering grove shines back to me from the green moss. But the other one, I love this one so much. This is by Crossroads. Anyone want to read it? Yeah, sure.
So, deep in the mountain wilderness, where nobody ever comes, only once in a great while, something like the sound of a far-off voice. The low rays of the sun slip through the dark forest and gleam again on the shadowy moss.
Thank you so much. So, how do you think about this translation? It's pretty good. I really appreciate the second lines where nobody ever comes. I think the comes is really good, because if you standing in the mountain already, and when you talk about someone outside this mountain, you will see nobody ever comes. It means that you are not here and I'm here, right? This is very good. And another thing is that how Chinese people appreciate this little poem, because Wang Wei is a poet who is very famous for his Zen Buddhism thinking. How he see the world like a Zen Buddhist. So it's like Zen Buddhist is actually the Taoist and the Buddhist, the combination. It's a mixture of. This is a domesticized Chinese Buddhism, but the wit here is that there's something there, but actually nothing there too. So it's like you have something and then you don't have something at the same time. So it's like the Taoist is like 有无相生, right? 有 and empty actually not empty at all. It's not nothing there. It must be some trees and some plants there in the mountain. It just says that 空 it means that no mundane, no worldly things there. It's a remote place. It's far from human beings and the world. So the empty is actually, you don't need to translate empty if you don't like, right? So this is what Rex was trying to render there. But I think this is also good. The low rays of the sun slip through the dark forest. And this is very good to gleam again, because in the original version here, the really good thing is about the sun. The sun is returning. The sun is returning. But again, it shines, it gleams on the green moss. Green moss is usually on the shadow, right? Under the tree. It's especially in Chinese forest, back to the ancient time. The green moss is always on the ground and it's shadowy. So it's not some stuff that got sunlight so much. So this is what Wang Wei wants to say. The sun is going back, but again, there's some light on the green moss. And it's like 空山不见人. no people there, but still you can hear the voice there. So it's something there and nothing there too at the same time. So it's very, very witty in this way. It's a Zen Buddhist thinking. So I think this English translation is a reinvention, is a rework of the original one, but still beautiful. Still beautiful. Mm-hmm. So how about this one? This is Gary Snyder. I like Gary Snyder very much. Recently, in Shanghai Finance University, there's one scholar there who just visited Gary Snyder last year, and then she came back and established a center for Gary Snyder study in China University. I mean, not in America, but in China, because Gary Snyder loves China, and he loves Chinese poetry so much, and especially the Zen Buddhist. He is a devout Zen Buddhist. So that's why we have a center for him. And this is what he did. Empty mountains, no one to be seen, yet here. You can see how he tried to follow the orders of the Chinese line, the Chinese sentence. The syntax is almost the same. This is very experimental because no English poet write poetry like this, right? It's not a proper grammar, English grammar. So, empty mountain, no one to be seen, yet here, human songs and echoes. Returning sunlight, this is good. Returning sunlight, enter. So return and enter. So paradoxical, but very much like what Wang Wei tries to say. Returning sunlight enters the dark woods, again shining on the green moss. The interesting thing is above, because in the original version, above is not above. Above is just on something, right? Like what I just said, green moss in China usually is on the ground, so it's not above. But Gary Snyder put his own experience on the eastern bank. The western bank of American. He was born in Washington State, and he usually went to the deep forest to see there's so many green mosses above the trees instead of on the ground. So that's why he translated this way. But anyway, it makes sense too. So it's not a big deal. Okay. I wanted to show you another one. This is also by Wang Wei. This time I want to show you how to translate the no person image, the no person poetics. Right? It's 独坐幽篁里，弹琴复长啸。深林人不知，明月来相照。So word by word, it means so someone, Wang Wei himself, but he doesn't mention anybody at all, not even himself. But we can imagine that he himself sitting lonely, so by himself, I mean, in the dark wood, playing Chinese lute, and then nobody else is there, only the moon. So this is one translation by Wang Baihua. Leaning alone in the close bamboo, I'm playing my lute and humming a song, too softly for anyone to hear, except my comrade, the bright moon. But you know, he had to put I there. But actually, Wang Wei doesn't say anything about himself. Here, again, Burton Watson is a very great sinologist. He did a translation of Sima Qian's 史记, the grand historian records. And also he did the 庄子. Do you know 庄子? The whole 庄子is translated by Watson too. So, alone I sit in dark bamboo, strumming the lute, whistling away, deep woods that no one knows, where a bright moon comes to shine on me. Still, you have to say me. But it's pretty good already. But you have to. I want to show you one bad translation. And we have been make a comment there. Could verse be worse? Yeah. So you can see how he tried to make the rhythm and also the rhyme, the end rhyme, but to it's very awkward actually, very awkward. But you know, I wanted to say one more thing about this. There's so many Chinese translators right now still doing the same thing. Yeah, they're still doing the same thing. I just gave a talk last week in Fudan University to criticize those translators. Yeah, and this is Du Fu, finally Du Fu. The syntax, the grammar is so dense, so ambiguous. If you translate it, no matter how hard you try, you can just only do one possibility, right? But there's so many possibilities at the same time. So that makes Du Fu so great. So it's really hard for this one. 从菊两开他日泪，孤舟一寄故园心. This is one version by Annie Lowell. She tried very hard. Very, very hard. Yeah, that's true. The myriad chrysanthemums have bloomed twice. Days to come, tears. There is a dash there. Because tears is separated from the other words. This is not even a proper Chinese grammar. But, I mean, back to the original lines, because Du Fu is so creative, experimental in his time. Oh, let's go back. The myriad chrysanthemums have bloomed twice, days to come, tears. The solitary little boat is moored, but my heart is in the old-time garden. This is a couplet, very, very regulated, very. This is a parallel. The two lines very neatly parallel. But still, there's so many possibilities there in the two simple lines. This is another trying by Hong Ye. Hong Ye is a great scholar. He works in Harvard University, and he wrote a very good The Life of Du Fu. And the title of his book is The Greatest Poet in China. Du Fu. Du Fu. So the sight of chrysanthemums again loosens the tears of past memories. To a lonely, detained boat, I vainly attach my hope of going home. Because he was retained in South China for many years, he never came back to his hometown. So he died actually in a boat in Yangtze River. Yeah. Another translation by Graham. Graham is so great. He did a collection of the poems of the late Tang. He's also translated lots of Taoist works, canons into English, and many others too. The clustered chrysanthemums have opened twice in tears of other days. The fallen boat, once and for all, tethers my homeward thoughts. You can see from those different translations, everyone tried to get several possibilities there, but not all of them. So this is the last one, I think. This is Stephen Owen I want to talk about right now, because he translated the complete Dufour's poems into English very recently. Published in several years ago, maybe 2018. The whole thing, the whole Dufour. It's a huge project, but he did a great job. So this is what he translated. Chrysanthemum clumps twice have bloomed forth tears of another day. A lonely boat tied up once and for all, a heart set on its homeland. It's complicated. It is. Like, I have to say that. For others, I want to say just one more thing. I think time is running out. How to translate those traditional Chinese loaded words, image, cultural loaded image, like flying flowers. Because Chinese people, when they want to say the sadness of the end of spring, the end of your youth, the end of love, a romantic love or whatever. So they use not rose. They make use of the spring flowers on the trees, like the peach tree flowers, the cherry tree flowers, the peach tree flowers. All those flowers that the petals are very light. When wind is blowing, then the flower petals can whirl away in the wind, So it's very much like a little pretty girl's fate. They're so beautiful, but after a while they will fall down. And when they bloom, when they bloom, it's so flourish. It's so beautiful. But when they falling down, it's just all of a sudden everything is gone. So that's the feeling. Why Chinese people, when they try to say spring is returned, spring is gone, they use those flowers, not roses. But it's interesting to see how the Chinese translators sometimes they don't know about it. They don't understand. I saw lots of translators use roses to replace those flowers. That's not proper, because the season is wrong already, right? Roses is blooming summertime. So I think I should stop here. Thank you so much.
Hi, thank you for your talk, Professor Wang. Like a lot of people here, maybe I'm here as a poetry appreciator, but also a language learner. I find learning Chinese very difficult. One of the best resources I found was a website called East Asia Student. I don't know if anyone else has come across it. And it's a student of Chinese who writes tips for reading and listening and things. But he also translates a lot of poems, hundreds of them. And I really like his annotations. It also includes pinyin and Hanzi. And my question is about language learning and how useful do you think it is? The translation method seems to have kind of gone out of fashion as a language learning tool. But do your students end up with beautiful English? And how useful do you think it is for people like me to read or try to read Chinese poems in the original?
Thank you. It's a very practical question. I think Chinese, especially classical Chinese poems, is really not so hard. It's a very good way for you to learn Chinese. Use the Tang poems. Yeah, there's so many good ones there. So many. I just mentioned a little bit just now. Like every Chinese kid can memorize 静夜思, right? 床前明月光, that is by Li Bai. And also there are several dufus. Very simple, but so delicate, you know. If you try hard to read the single word separately, and each one you pay much attention on the significance there, that your Chinese learning will be, you know, benefited, will be benefited a lot. I think it's a very good way to learn Chinese. I always use that in my Chinese class. I went to Chicago for 2 years to teach Chinese there. You know, I had that experience, and there are lots of very smart students. They can memorize Chinese poems very easily. Yeah, it's a very good way. Don't think it's too hard for you. Actually, it works. Yeah.
Hey, Bob, you're next.
I was wondering about the challenges posed by the way the poetry appears on the page. And so in English, our letters approximate a sound, but in Chinese, we're closer to the image itself. If I write Moon Yue, I have a little bit of moon there. So, and Wang Wei has that famous line, Mu Bo Fu Rong Hua.
Yeah.
But actually, it's like a movie of it. So I was wondering if translators have tried to tackle that aspect.
I know, I understand your question, but I want to tell you that what Francis Chen did is a very big exaggeration. Yes. 默默不容花. If you ask one Chinese people, anyone, nobody can decipher those pictures there. It's an imagination of the scholar. And why he did that? Because I think he's kind of want to make his book popular in French. Because back to that time, there's several scholars there trying to make some theories from those, signatures, those characters, pronunciations, because Chinese characters are not pronunciation-based language. But that is wrong, because 90% Chinese characters are a combination of sound and the picture. And the picture has already lost for a long, long time ago. We are not in the old time. Now every Chinese character is just an abstract character, not so closely related to the original picture anymore. So it's a foreigner's imagination, It's a otherness thinking of Chinese character. So the Edward Pond and Emil Orwell did lots of trying on this Chinese character picture,
Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Professor Wang.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Have a good job. Have a good time.